where do people make the biggest mistakes when it comes to their money. So, one of the things I often think about is I think about where do people make the biggest mistakes when it comes to their money? Like, what is it that people are doing with the money they make that is a mistake? Who are they giving their money to? Where are they putting it? What are they doing wrong? Well, first and foremost, we have to understand money. What is money? Money is nothing more than a means of exchange. I want you to think about that for a second. Money is just a means of exchange. We exchange this for things. I give money for this cup of coffee. I give money for the car. I give money for my house. I give money for food. We're just exchanging money. Money for car, money for house, money for food. That's all money is. But the second thing we have to understand about money is when we exchange money in a sense of saving or investing, what are we actually doing? Well, in most cases, one of the biggest mistakes that all of us make, I would say we're on the path, because I'm going to teach you, we're on the path to not making this mistake. But one of the biggest mistakes that we all make with money is we give up control of it. Think about this. When you save money, where is the first place that you have been taught through school, through family, through influencers and different things? Like, where were you taught to store your capital? Think about banks, traditional banks. You make money, and what do? You deposit it in somebody else's bank. I don't care what bank that is. It could be Bank of America, it could be Wells Fargo, it could be KeyBank, it could be some community bank, but it doesn't matter. Your money is going in someone else's bank. And in exchanging that money to someone else's bank, you are indeed giving up control. So problem number one is you have been taught to give up control of your money. And that control is costing you your financial future. Let's think about when you give up control to just a bank. A bank takes your money, and what do? They take the money that you deposit there, you give it to the teller. Does the teller put it in a little box in the back with your name on it? Absolutely not. So what does that teller do with your money? That teller takes your money and everybody else's money, and they move that money. They don't just leave that money sit, they move that money. They literally lend it out in those little glass cubicles. And in doing so, banks, by the factual data found on BauerFinancial.com, banks make 400 to 1,300% more than you do on the deposits you leave there. Now, that doesn't just kind of rattle the feathers or piss you off a little bit. There's something wrong with you, because that isn't how it should be. That's your money. You worked hard for that money. That is money you traded hours for dollars, right? You went out and you worked and hustled for that money. And how much is the bank paying you on that money you deposited there? I'm going to stand back on this one. Pretty close to nothing. Most checking accounts pay nothing in interest. Most savings accounts pay far less than 1% by today's numbers, which is 2021. You are not getting paid anything for leaving your money there, but that's what you've been taught to do. So that's what you do, because you have been taught to create a habit and a pattern with your money that is self-defeating to you. So problem number one, you give up control of your money. And let's go one layer deeper. What is another thing that you've been taught to do with your money? Well, at your job, you've been taught to get a job where they offer a retirement account. Have you not? Right? You get a job and you ask, well, what are the benefits? Ooh, well, we have dental, we have health insurance, great benefits. And we also have a 401k. Ooh, tell me about that 401k. I need to save for retirement. So tell me about that thing. Well, you can put your today's dollars, you can take money from each paycheck, whatever percentage you want, and you can put it in this 401k. And then someday later, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, the magic number is 59 and a half. Then you can take those dollars back out without the government penalizing you 10% in an early withdrawal penalty. And you're like, oh, well, okay. Well, it's still saving for retirement. But think about this. What are you actually doing when you're putting money in a 401k? People just fail to actually look at logic. Logic would tell you not to put money in a 401k, because the dollars you have today, these dollars, are the most valuable dollars you will ever have. This $100 that you traded hours for dollars to make, this $100 will never, ever, ever be worth more money than it is today. And why is that? Well, look at, it's called inflation. It's a hidden tax. Since 1913, when the Federal Reserve was created and the tax code was created then, let's look at the value, the purchasing power of $100. Because back then, $100 had purchasing power of $100. Fast forward to 2019, it's even less today, but I only have data to 2019. That same $100 that was worth $100 in 1913 is now worth $3.87. That is what inflation does to your money. It steals the value, the purchasing power of your money through a hidden tax that we all know, but we all don't quite understand inflation. Because inflation is a hidden tax. It is not the fact that goods and services go up in price. It is the fact that your dollars buy less of those same goods and services. So back to the 401k. You make your money and you then automatically have your employer deduct a certain percentage and you put it into this 401k. And also they've convinced you that getting that tax deduction is so vital today. Taxes, let me ask you this, are taxes going up or down? All of you should answer up because you already know they're going up. It's fact right now. So if taxes are going to go up, you're going to take your best, most valuable dollars, because this 100 we already agreed is worth the most today. And you're going to give up control of that money, put it into the 401k because you've been baited into the 401k to believe that, oh, that's good. I got to save for retirement. And not only that, I have to then get a tax deduction, which I'm excited about. Now let's fast forward 5, 10, 15 years. In 5, 10, 15, 20 years, when you're at 59 and a half or older, you get to take that money back out of the 401k and provide yourself a retirement. You put the dollars in, which were the most valuable dollars you will ever have, at what arguably could be the lowest tax rate you will ever pay, and you got a deduction at that low tax rate. So then someday later, take back weaker dollars because of inflation, take back higher tax dollars because of the tax rates going up, and then also pay taxes on a much larger sum of money because your 401k has been invested and hopefully, not always, but hopefully the balance has grown. So you take back weaker dollars at a higher tax rate someday in the future, and you gave up control of that money the entire time, and you missed out on opportunities that presented themselves because all your money was in someone else's control. Just think about what's going on. So I know I went long on problem number one, but problem number one is the most important problem. You have been taught to give up control of your money, and that is what keeps you on the financial hamster wheel. That needs to change. Problem number two. Now let's talk about the second problem. The second problem is spending. You have been taught and conditioned from a young age to spend money. And I understand, I do the same thing. All these things that we want. And we go out there and we spend money on them. We finance them. We use somebody else's money, a bank, a credit card, a line of credit. And what do? We then take their money to buy the goods and services we need in exchange then for a monthly payment back to somebody else's bank. And most people that I have seen, too many actually, end up buying too many things, financing too many things, so that now the income they make is pretty close to the income they spend. So problem number two, we spend too much money on the goods and services that we don't always need, but we don't budget. So if you're overspending on the goods and services, that's a big problem because you can never save if you're spending everything you make. And this is one thing people always do. That's part of problem number two. As you make more money at your job, you spend more money. You get a raise. You're like, oh, I'm going to go buy this. You get another bonus. Oh, I'm going to go buy this. We got to change the way we do things. Like this guy right here behind me, Warren Buffett. Think about this guy. A lot of people give him so much credit for being the world's #1 investor, and he might just be that. But Warren Buffett is not the best investor there is. There are people far better than this guy at investing in stocks. But what has Warren Buffett done that no other investor, I shouldn't say no other investor, most other investors have not done? He's been patient. Unbelievably patient. He has invested from a very young age and never stopped. So why is Warren Buffett one of the richest men in the world? Time. He has saved over a long period of time. And Warren Buffett also says this: if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until the day you die. Think about that. If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until the day you die. Problem number 3. This is one of the biggest ones. Most people do just that. They work until they die because they have never been taught to do anything else. I meet very successful people, business owners, W-2 employees, very, very successful people that don't know how to make their money work for them. They simply know how to work for money. I just met with somebody that's in my family yesterday, and he came in and he asked me for my help. This guy makes a lot of money. He owns a big construction company, makes a ton of money. His problem is everything he has done involved him trading hours for dollars. Every business he has created involved him working to make the money. If he stopped working, his income stopped. And he's created many of these. And he even thought, and I'm going to get to problem number 4 because it's just the same thing. It feeds into the same thing. But he has been taught that every business he creates involves him working to make that money and him building that company so that then it involves him. He creates one company because he gets a new idea, and that company involves him to put time in. Are you doing the same thing? Are you constantly spinning your wheels in your businesses, in your job, because all of your knowledge has revolved around you working for money? The wealthy have learned one thing more than you. They have learned that it's not just working hard, because we all got to hustle, right? We got to get to the point where we have the money to then make our money work for us. But the wealthy have figured out that it's not how hard we work. It's not how hard we hustle, because that will keep you constantly trapped in a job. I don't care if that job is a job you created called your business or somebody else's job that you work for. It doesn't matter. You work for money. It's time to change one thing and to start making your money work for you. And to do that, you have to understand, how can your money work for you? So let's go to problem number 4. Problem number 4 is people often, all the time, fail to realize the hidden money that's right under their feet. So problem number 4 is the fact that people do save money. They work hard. They continuously work hard, like I just talked about with my friend, and they make money and they save money. And what do they do with it? Well, they put it in savings accounts. Some put it in CDs. They put it in a brokerage account. Maybe you put it in a Coinbase crypto account or something like that. You're putting your money somewhere and you're saving it. But now let's look on the other side of the spectrum that we talked about earlier. They're still spending money, but because they're saving, they're like, oh, I don't want to touch my savings. So what do? They rack up credit cards. They take out car loans. They use lines of credit. So they build debt on this side and they build savings on this side. But I want you to just think about the math. And I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to give you the math on the screen. I want you to pay attention to this. A lot of people will save, let's just do $10,000, right? They will save $10,000 in their savings account. So this is your savings. And they're very excited about this $10,000 that they've just saved. But then on the other side of the coin, they will then rack up $30,000 in debts. But not all debts are bad. Some people tell you, like Dave Ramsey will tell you, all debts are bad. Not true. Debts come in 2 different flavors: good debt and bad debt. So let's really just talk about the bad debt, because the good debt would be if you bought a rental property, you put a mortgage on that rental property, but your rents exceeded the amount of your mortgage. That mortgage allowed you to buy that property, and that mortgage in the future will allow you to leverage that. So that would be considered good debt. Good debt is debt that actually puts money in your pocket every month. Bad debt, like let's just assume that down here we've got $10,000 in credit card debt. That is bad debt. And let's assume that $10,000 in credit card debt is costing you an average of 20%. Don't get hung up on the 20% interest, okay? Because some credit cards have interest of 29.99. Others are 0% intro rates. Too many people get trapped by the 0%. I know a ton of people that get into that 0% interest rate and then they never pay it off because they just can't, because they haven't learned how to do it. So let's just focus in on this, the bad debt, okay? So this is bad debt. So now that same person has saved $10,000, and that $10,000 they love. They feel so good about that $10,000. Every day they put a little bit more. Maybe they're adding $100 a week or $100 a month to their savings. But then they still got this. So that $100 that they're saving up here is really leaking out the back door to this credit card debt, the bad debt. So the biggest problem here is the fact that if you're saving money, yet you're spending money at a higher rate, because you might only be making 1%, let's even just say you're making 10%, which would be a great return on your savings. But down here, you're bleeding 20%. Where does that make any logical sense? But people have never been taught how to fix this problem. It's so simple, folks. It's going to be it's going to go against everything that you believe and everything you've been taught. But hear me out. Let's just say we did one thing. We took this $10,000 in savings, okay? We transitioned it and we paid off that $10,000 in credit cards. Some of you would be like, oh my God, no, I lost my emergency fund, that $10,000. That was my feel good money, my emergency fund. If something happened, I had that money. Hang on a second. You're making 1%, most of you. Some of you might be making 10% if it's in the market, and you're bleeding 20% plus in credit card debt. So why does it make any sense to have any savings at all if you're giving it all away over time? Who's winning that equation? The banks are, folks, not you. You're losing. So if you take this 10 grand and you shift it down here, you pay off the credit card. But now, don't stop there. This is the biggest mistake. People stop there, which always results in a negative feeling, a bad situation. You got to go one step further. Let's just figure that this credit card at $10,000 at 20% was costing you $200 a month, okay, in interest. Hypothetically, I don't know what it would be, but let's just pretend it's $200 a month in interest. That bad debt was costing you. But now you took your savings and you paid off that credit card, so you no longer have to pay $200 a month to the credit card. Awesome. But you still should treat your money, which was your savings, the same as you treated the credit card's money, because your money is just as valuable, actually more valuable than the credit card company's money. So treat your money the same as you treat the bank's money. And now take this same $200 a month that you used to give to the credit card at 20% and set up a bill pay or a transfer back into wherever the money came from. Now, there's a lot better places than a savings account. There might even be better places than a brokerage account to hold your money. We're not going to get into that today. Watch my other videos on YouTube and you'll see all about places where you can earn uninterrupted compound interest on all of your money, even when you use it. But that's not for today. $200 a month goes back into your savings. That is the same as you making 20%. I want you to think about that. If you recycle and recapture the money that's being given away to credit card companies or high interest rate debts, if you just pay it off and recapture that, do you realize you'll have far more than $10,000? Sure, it'll take time, but you know what? Let's go to problem number 5. Everybody's in a hurry. Problem number 5, every single person's in a hurry to build wealth. And that is a big problem, because being in a hurry gets you to fall into FOMO, fear of missing out. You always think you're missing out on the next big opportunity. You think you're missing out on that stock that's going to go to the moon. FOMO is dangerous. So problem number 5 is stop being in a rush, because that is a problem. Warren Buffett didn't get where he's at by being in a rush. He's been patient. He understands that building wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. Life is a marathon, not a sprint. Stop thinking that your money has to work fast for you. Your money has to just do the right things to work for you, but it is going to take time. This equation is going to take time, but how many of you want to earn 1% versus 20%? You didn't have to work any harder to make that arbitrage of 19%, or if you're making 10%, that arbitrage of 10%. Did you have to work any harder? No. You didn't have to work any harder. You didn't have to work any longer. You didn't have to take on any risk. As a matter of fact, you took no risk here. This was a risk-free transaction. And you didn't have to give up control of your money. You actually did exactly what was the right thing, what rule number 1 was telling you about. $200 a month coming back into your account is you taking back control. You're no longer leaking money to the bad debts. That's problem number 5. Problem number 6. Problem number 6 is one that I love, because it is one that most people have no idea about, but they think they know all about this. This problem is compound interest. Every one of you that save money believe in compound interest, okay? All of you believe that compound interest is a good thing. What company in the world uses compound interest? Some of you are thinking banks, Wall Street, insurance companies. You're wrong. They do use it, but I will tell you they don't, because they move money. They do the same thing that you need to be doing, and that's move money. Because if they believed in compound interest in the sense of how you believe in it, they would have to park their money somewhere and leave it sit. Now think about all the businesses. Do banks put a bunch of money and just leave it sit? Heck no. Banks are moving money all the time. They're lending money to you all the time. And in the middle, they're making that spread, that 400 to 1,300% more than you are. They can't make that if they just leave their money sit because they want to earn compound interest on it. Second, car dealerships, grocery stores, all different businesses that you go into day in and day out. Do they use compound interest? No. If they did, their cars would sit on the lot and they'd be like, nope, you can't buy these cars. They got to sit there because they're earning compound interest. Grocery stores, would they leave the groceries and all the food on the shelves and say, oh, don't buy those peas because those have to earn compound interest? No, they move that inventory. That inventory is money. They've exchanged money for inventory. Then they move the inventory, and that's how they make money. Constantly moving money. So to do compound interest, you negate moving money. You cannot move your money through compound interest. So what is the problem? The problem is you don't understand compound interest because you have not been shown how to earn not just compound interest, but let's go one step further. The most important thing you need to do and learn is not compound interest. It is uninterrupted. I probably spelled that wrong, but interrupted, but who cares? I'm not good at spelling. I'm good at money. So they earn uninterrupted compound interest. We'll just leave it like that, okay? Uninterrupted compound interest. Now, what does that mean? That means that their money is earning compound interest, what Albert Einstein called the eighth wonder of the world, the most powerful thing in the universe. Those that understand it earn it. Those that don't, pay it. How do you earn uninterrupted compound interest on your money? Well, you have to understand where to put your money that allows you then to access that money and use that money without interrupting the compounding effect. This is tricky because there's really only a few places on earth, a few machines that you can put your money into that will allow you to save and spend without interrupting the flow of interest and gains that you earn on that money. Do some research, watch my videos on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, and learn about privatized banking. Learn about the infinite banking concept, because that will show you how to earn uninterrupted, okay, uninterrupted compound interest on all of your money. And once you learn that, you will then have a mechanism where you then can move your money, okay, just like the banks, just like the businesses, you can move your money and still earn compound interest. But then I'm just going to put that little uninterrupted compound interest so that you understand that's what we're talking about. This is a huge mistake. We park our money places, we put our money places, we give up control of our money to other people in the hopes of earning compound interest. But the way we look at it is we can't touch that money. We can't interrupt that money because then we stop the flow of interest. If you just change one thing, folks, if you change one thing and add one step to your life, to your savings program, and you change where your money goes first, you then can earn uninterrupted compound interest, just like the Rockefellers learned, just like the Rothschilds learned, just like the JPs, the Morgans, Ray Kroc, Walt Disney, Pampered Chef, Doris Christopher, Warren Buffett, right up to the current administration, Biden and McCain before he passed. They all use this. I would definitely, I can't factually prove this, but I would say that even Trump used it just like Biden does, but we don't have proof. Everybody else, factual proof. Check the video out on my YouTube channel that talks about the history of the infinite banking concept. It will show you all of these individuals, all of the wealthy families that you know of and you've heard of use uninterrupted compound interest. Why are you not? How come nobody's told you about this? So let's go to the next problem. Failure to find the right knowledge. See, most people sit back and they wait for knowledge to come to them. They wait for someone to tell them what to do. They don't go out there like the wealthy do and seek out knowledge. This is a problem with money. If you want the truth, if you want to know what the wealthy do, you got to go out and seek that knowledge. Your financial advisor, your Wall Street person, your insurance agent, they're not going to come to you and tell you because they're selling you something. The wealthy have evolved. They have literally upgraded to a higher level that you have because they've had the means to do that. But it doesn't mean you don't have the means. It just means you lack the knowledge. Get the knowledge to understand how the wealthy use and move money in a different way than you. If you keep standing back and just sitting back, waiting for people to bring you the proper knowledge, they are going to bring you knowledge that puts money in their pocket and takes money from yours. True or true? That is a huge, huge problem. The other problem, let's go one layer deeper. So we're on to the next problem. I think we're 6 or 7 here. Lazy money. I literally have a cat in my office that we call lazy cash. So we're just going to call it lazy cash. And I'm not talking about the cat. I'm talking about your money. You have lazy money that's sitting around doing nothing. You have lazy money that's at your disposal for opportunities that present them today, and the opportunities that present themselves today to you can be taken advantage of with the most valuable dollars you have, which is today's dollars. But you miss these opportunities. You miss these opportunities because you, in your mindset, always say, oh, I wish I could. I wish I had the money to do that. Boy, if I only had the money to do this, I could have invested in Uber. Boy, if I only had the money to do this, I could have invested in Facebook. You could have, you should have, you would have, yet you didn't because you thought you didn't have the money when the money was right under your feet. For most of you, you have lazy cash. Now, where is that lazy cash? It's lots of places. A lot of you, we already hit this, have 401ks. Your money's just sitting there. It's lazy money. And you can access that through loans, but we're not going to get into that. Okay. How about your house? How many of you own a house or know somebody that owns a house? You have lazy money sitting in your house right now. This is 2022, right after COVID, about a year out, and the real estate market is at an all-time high. At an all-time high. It's like a hockey stick. Went straight up. And that's not going to last. It's not going to last. But right now, you have the ability to tap into that hidden equity that is in your house, that lazy cash that's literally sitting in your rafters of your house. But how many of you, I want you to really think about this, how many of you have a house that has equity, but you don't have a home equity line of credit, or you haven't found a way to tap into that equity? How many of you? A lot. I see this every day. There are a ton of people that have equity in their house, as most do right now, that they're not using. That is lazy money. I want you to think about this. You come home after a really hard day of work. You've been busting your butt. You're exhausted. It's late at night. And you open the front door and you look over at your couch, and on your couch is your money. I just want you to envision your money is sitting there, okay? Your money's sitting on that couch, and it's drinking your soda. It's eating your potato chips. It's watching your TV and having a grand old time when you've been busting your rump all day long, working for money, when your money has been on the couch all day doing nothing at all, but being lazy. Imagine the feeling you would have. Why are you working so hard when your money gets to sit around being lazy? That isn't right. But this is what you have not been taught. You need to put that lazy cash, that lazy money to work. Now, there are some rules. We have to follow rules with all of this, and we're not going to get into that. But the rules for making this lazy equity work are we cannot ever put that lazy money to work unless that lazy money makes more than what the cost of capital is. So if you tap into a home equity line of credit, let's just say it's 3 to 5%. We're going to focus on 5% interest. The cost of capital, so the cost for you to access that lazy cash in your house is, let's just use 5%. So if you got a home equity line of credit on your house, it costs you nothing to get it, maybe a couple points on your credit score. And if you don't use that money, it costs you nothing. But when you take that money out and you have that money in your hand, that money now costs you something. There's a cost to use this capital. That cost, let's just call it 5%. So rule number one with cost of capital and with lazy money is you need to make more than 5%. So where can you make more than 5%? Well, how about those credit cards we talked about? There were 20+%. Why don't we take that lazy cash at 5%, pay off the credit cards, recycle and recapture the money from the credit cards back into the home equity line, which regenerates the money, making it available again. And what spread did you make? Well, if you got 20+% in interest here and it cost you 5, that's a 15% arbitrage. That is a 15% spread that you made and you didn't work any harder for. Okay. How about real estate? Let's say you lend money on real estate and let's say you lent it at 10%. I'm just giving different examples. That is a 5% spread. Let's say you got a car loan and that car loan is costing you 8%. Now, not many of these out there these days, but some people are paying more than 8%. Maybe you got bad credit. You take this money from your line of credit, you pay off the car at 8. So 8, 7, 6, 5. You made a 3% spread. You see, I'm making money out of thin air just by taking the lazy money and putting it to work. Are you doing that? The last thing, the last problem with money is exactly what I've mentioned, FOMO. How many people right now in 2021 with this crazy market, these crazy real estate prices, how many people do you know that are just plowing money into the markets? How many? A lot. Everybody thinks that the markets are going to keep going up, that this gravy train of growth and making money and everything else is never going to end. Folks, it will end. It always does. It's a pattern and it's very easy to see. Go back to the Great Depression. Go back way before that. You will see a very rhythmic pattern. 10-year, 45-year, 90-year. They come in 3 different flavors. There's different patterns. All of them are converging right now. So FOMO, fear, okay, let's just spell this out. Fear of missing out. This is a major problem with your money because you are rushing into things. You are following the herds because everybody else is rushing in thinking, oh my God, it's never going to end. Oh my God, I don't want to miss out. By doing that, you are defying and defeating the actual thing you should be doing with money. And what should you be doing with money? This is Warren Buffett. Let's just use his. Number 1, what's rule number 1 for investing money? Buy low. Isn't that so simple to understand? You want to make money on anything, real estate, stocks, crypto, buy low. But some of you are like, yeah, but what's low? Well, that's to be determined, but you have to buy low. So if you're buying the highest point of the market ever, and you're buying the highest real estate market ever, you're overpaying, you're buying high, not low. So you're defeating buying low if you're falling into FOMO. Number 2, what's the second rule that Warren Buffett says? Well, it's easy. Sell high. Oh my God, it's so easy. Buy low, sell high. Like, if you know this, but you follow this. If you're buying into the markets right now, you are not following this. If you're plowing money in your 401k, you're defying 2 of these rules, 2 of these problems that we've already discussed. And then what? All right. So even if you are buying, and maybe you're still making a little bit because we can't predict or time the markets. Maybe you are making money. When are you going to sell? When are you going to sell those real estate properties? When are you going to sell that stock that you bought that's highly appreciated and you made a bunch of money? When are you going to sell that Bitcoin that you're 100+% gain on? Well, too many people make the mistake of not selling because they don't have a plan and they don't have rules to follow for exiting. And when you don't exit, what happens? You lose money. But the rule doesn't say lose money. It says buy low, sell high, and don't lose money. It's that simple, folks. Buy low, sell high, and don't lose money. But what do people do right now? Because they get so hung up into FOMO, they buy high. And when are they going to sell? When the market drops, they get scared, fear kicks in, reality kicks in, and they sell low. And they absolutely, certainly lose money. Do the opposite of what everybody else is doing. When others are greedy, be fearful. There's too much greed right now. And when others are fearful, 2009, 10, during the dot-com crash, during the Great Depression, be greedy. When others are fearful, be greedy. It's the opposite of what's happening out there. And I hope you enjoyed these different rules and the problems that you are making with money because there's so many more, but I wanted to get the most important ones out there. You need to take back control. You need to start actually treating your money the same way you treat the bank's money. You need to change where your money goes. You need to stop putting money in places where someone else is benefiting and you are not. You need to move that lazy money. You need to stop using FOMO. There's so many things we covered. Go back and watch this again. And if you guys liked this, if you love this video, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, whether it's here or here. Subscribe to it. And then smash that alerts button because you want to know this. You want to learn how this works, because if you apply these simple principles, if you stop making these same mistakes with your money, you will start on the path to financial freedom. You will get off the financial hamster wheel. You will not be in financial slavery anymore. But again, don't be in a rush. It's one of the problems. It takes time. So thank you for joining me. See you on the next one.